Hi there, this is Pride Weekly. We'll start with Monday. 2 transgender women in the US have attached themselves to a construction crane 250 feet up in a protest against anti-trans legislation. The pair were also highlighting violence against transgender people in Atlanta, Georgia. A 35-year-old trans man called Chevy Hill was killed recently, plus access to medical care for transgender kids has been restricted in the state. The women were safely brought down from the crane and arrested. Protesters were at the base of it as well. This one tells Atlanta News First they wanted to show their support.
Trans women and in general are the most vulnerable in the US and in our society, and it's important that we show up and we show solidarity with them because they do put their lives on the line every day that they walk out in the street, and it's very significant that they felt the need to come out here and put themselves in an even more vulnerable position.
It was also a demo against the construction of a controversial new police training facility labelled Cop City. Opponents say it'll militarise the police. 11 former officials from the military, police and government in Argentina have been convicted of crimes against humanity, including the torture of transgender women. Happened across 4 secret detention centres between 1976 and 1983 during the country's last dictatorship. Queer people were persecuted for being subversive. 10 of those convicted have got life in prison. The other was sentenced to 25 years. And a French football player has apologised for liking and sharing anti-queer posts on social media. Corinne Albert's a midfielder with Paris Saint-Germain, and she's also on America's women's team. The 20-year-old says she's really disappointed in herself and promises to do better. It's Pride Daily for Tuesday. 3 people have been charged with vandalising a rainbow street crossing in New Zealand. It's thought Christian fundamentalists from an anti-queer church are behind it. Imagine being dead inside like they are. A couple of crossings have been covered in white paint over the last week and a bit in the cities of Gisborne and Auckland. Drag performer Miss Jenna tells One News it's unnerving.
It's really hard just to even just go about my day sometimes when this rise in hate is happening. This is like a bit too close to home. This isn't just a road where I come for a coffee or go for a drink in a bar. This is actually my second home, and it's a second home to a lot of queer people.
Police say they're treating the incidents as hate crimes. More than half of South Koreans reckon they wouldn't want someone queer living nearby. This is what's come out of a yearly survey by the Korea Institute of Public Administration. 52% would rather no one LGBTQ+ was in the neighbourhood. The stat rises to 72% for convicts. So, there's that. It's a very conservative country. A queer culture festival's recently been blocked there. And Cuba's a country where, back in the day, being queer could see you sent to a prison camp, but they've got a church there these days that's LGBTQ+ inclusive. The Reverend Elina Serralay says everyone's welcome at the Metropolitan Community Church, which opened in 2015 in the city of Matanzas. She wears rainbow robes for her services there, and it's where she recently married her wife. Anti-queer discrimination's been outlawed in Cuba over the last few years, with same-sex marriage and adoption in the country since 2022. It's Pride Daily for Wednesday, and a warning, there's some bad language coming up. So then, I started writing a story for Pride Daily about a gay former Marine in America. Inspiring guy, John Edward Heath. He lost a leg because of a drunk driver and hopes to qualify for this year's Paralympics. Plus, he advocates for amputees and on mental health, and he's suffered a lot of hardship. But then I saw what he'd reposted on Twitter. It's from someone who says he's detransitioned. This individual misgenders a prominent trans woman and references men who pretend to be women. Means that's the story you're hearing now, rather than one about an exceptional queer man who'd otherwise be a fantastic role model. And here's the thing, John's told the This Shit's Hard podcast about the queerphobic prejudice he's been through.
What's very stressful is like, how is it that I'm painted as the bad person for being who I am,
right? Being
open about my sexuality, and I'm seen, right, as the faggot, I'm seen as all this, gay shit, but I'm living my true life and I'm the bad person.
We've asked John if he endorses the transphobia in what he reposted. If he responds, we'll let you know. Next, a legal fight for same-sex marriage and civil partnerships in Lithuania. The government there has been taken to the European Court of Human Rights by 4 same-sex couples. They also want the definition of marriage clarified, plus there's a push for equal parenting rights. Same-sex relationships aren't recognised in Lithuania. An attempt by Parliament to legalise civil unions has been put on hold. And hate crime laws are being toughened up in Queensland and Australia. It means harsher punishments and up to 3 years in prison for bigots who target people because of their sexuality and gender identity. The changes take effect from the end of the month. The laws also cover racial and religious hate. It's Pride Daily for Thursday. Transgender people in Hong Kong can now amend their ID cards without having full gender reassignment surgery. The Court of Final Appeal ruled the requirement was unconstitutional in February last year. Since then, the government's dragged its heels, but after another legal challenge, it's finally acted. There's some strict new requirements, though, before the cards can be altered: the removal of breasts, penises, and testicles. Trans activist Henry Tsay is one of the people behind all the legal action. After his first victory, he explained to Associated Press the significance of the ruling.
I wouldn't be humiliated by being outed by my ID that's incongruent to who I am.
Other criteria includes having continuous hormonal treatment for at least 2 years. Plus, applicants will have to prove they've lived as the opposite sex for the same length of time. An attempt to overturn Uganda's anti-homosexuality law has failed. The country's constitutional courts rejected a legal challenge by activists who said it violates human rights. The law's been condemned around the world. You could be jailed for life in Uganda just for having gay sex. And the first ever Rainbow Games are kicking off in New Zealand, with LGBTQ+ people competing in the likes of football, swimming and tennis. 650 athletes from 21 countries are taking part at venues across Auckland in the north. The games run until Monday and aim to encourage the participation, understanding and acceptance of queer people. Other sports include basketball, running and badminton, plus many others I have absolutely no aptitude for. It's Pride Daily for Friday. A pioneering lesbian, Nancy Valverde, has died in Los Angeles at the age of 92. The LGBTQ+ activist would be arrested in the 1940s and 50s and attacked by police as well for wearing men's clothes. She was accused of violating LA's masquerading laws, which she later got overturned. They were used against trans people, butch lesbians and drag queens. Police apologised for this and to Nancy personally last year. She told PBS she was first arrested at the age of just 17.
They handcuffed me and put me in the car. I said, what? I'm doing nothing. He said, masquerading. I said, what the hell is that? It was illegal to wear men's clothing. I went to jail for that. At least 8-9 times.
Nancy was born in 1932. She dedicated her life to making Los Angeles more inclusive. A street corner there was named after her last year. And Pride Daily's got a whole series on LGBTQ+ trailblazers next month. Concerns over a UK university having a campus in Qatar have increased. It's after claims a senior staff member at Ulster Uni said sending information about Pride to students on the campus is highly problematic. Being gay is illegal in Qatar, with the threat of the death penalty for homosexual sex. Amnesty International says it seems like the university's disregarding its commitment to human rights. And a third gender option's been added to American immigration applications. The updated N400 form now has male, female and X to signify another gender identity. It's been criticised as woke by the intellectually bereft who think that word's an insult. Meanwhile, American Express is to add a non-binary option to applications for credit cards in the UK. I'm Kev McGrath. See you Monday.